Alright, quick update on Solana. So I'm going to start off with the regular analysis that we would be doing on the Japanese candlesticks. Very quickly give you a rundown of the momentum indicators and a few patterns that I see. And then we're going to jump into the bread and butter of today's video. And that is going to be looking at this on the macro scale on the Heikin-Ashi candles. Because I see a lot of people panicking and I don't see any signs of a trend reversal in the macro term. So first of all, looking at the Japanese candlesticks, we have just fired a short on the Heikin-Ashi candles. Momentum is somewhat moving, back to the upside or to the heart line. So I would be, kind of expecting for one potential quick flush out, and my target of this flush out is down here at 106. Now, we could potentially come down to even as low as 100 because that is a psychological level. I think people would be attracted to buy around the $100 price, and price could be magnetized to anywhere around there. So if you're wondering, we're looking at this on the lower time frames, if you're wondering, why have I got a price target down here at 106? There's nothing down here. If we come over to the daily, you can see these are where our EMA ribbons run into, and these price targets are going to change literally every day. You can see yesterday when I made my video, I said we need to stay above 106. This has now moved up to 107 because, like I said, we're trading these based on momentum indicators. These are moving averages on the EMA ribbons, and depending on whether in an uptrend or a downtrend, they will be moving up/down every single day. So looking at what's going on in a more macro perspective on the daily, you can kind of see we're forming a red-green-red formation, which it really isn't too good when you start forming red-green-red formations. Previously these don't have the best at least in my opinion, I think red-green-reds are really bearish, and I think they play out a lot of the time, and I think green-red-greens, which are the inverse of this, play out just as much. So you can see here we had a green-red-green, big uptrend. We then had a green-red-green, big uptrend, green-red-green, big uptrend. Green-red-green, this one didn't work out, so it's not 100% of the time, but if we do go through all the data, you can see that they have a very high likelihood of playing out. Now we are forming a red-green-red, which is the inverse of a green-red-green formation, and it is bearish. So in my opinion, what's going on with this red-green-red and the momentum heading to the downside in the short term, this could potentially signal that we could be coming down to between, like I said, 107 to $100. I'm personally not expecting a move down to 100. I told you in my last video I will be buying at 112. I bought yesterday at 112, and I said I'd be looking to ladder in my buys. I'll be putting buys in at 107, and I'll save a tiny bit of money just in case we do come down to 100, because I still think it's likely. What I highlighted for Bitcoin is that Bitcoin could be getting ready for one quick flush out to as low as 40,000. So I would not be surprised if we had a quick fake out to the downside for Solana. I would not be surprised if potentially we even had a super quick wick below 100 before having a macro reversal. I don't think we're going to have daily and weekly closes below 100. Could be wrong. That is just my personal opinion. I think Solana's looking very strong right now. On the daily, we have flipped green on the EMA ribbons, and we are back testing them. So, I mean, all in all, it looks, fairly healthy in my opinion. It looks very nice. I mean, I don't think we really have fake outs on the daily EMA ribbons for Solana. You can see the last time these fired green was down here when Solana was $32, and it went on an absolute rampage all the way up to 258. You can see the last time we fired a short, we were approximately, this fired on $172, and we were brought all the way down to 78. So you can see these daily EMA flips on the EMA ribbons. They're very good signals in my opinion. I really don't think in the macro term we can ignore that we're firing along on the daily. So what I can see here is we're back testing these EMA ribbons. I would not be surprised once again if we have a quick fake out below these EMA ribbons, but I'm personally not expecting anywhere below $100. That is all I see on Sol USD. If we come over to Sol BTC, keeping it really quick, because we're pretty much seeing the same thing. We've got a long on the daily EMA ribbons. We're coming back down into them, and we've got a lot of bullish momentum built up for Solana priced against Bitcoin. So I think your moon line for Solana priced against Bitcoin is 30362. Once we break above that, in my opinion, I really don't think there's much in getting in the way of the all-time high. So that is the analysis today. I want to run into the Heikin-Ashi candles, which, like I said, I think these are super important to pay attention to on Solana, because these are great ways of trading the market. Now, it didn't necessarily work out 100% in this downtrend, but you can see these Heikin-Ashi candles perfectly called the uptrend. If you sold when the Heikin-Ashis went red, you would have sold at 38, and you would have bought back in after these fired back green at 31. First of all, if you're unfamiliar with Heikin-Ashi candles and you want to learn about them, I have an educational playlist on my channel, and I do run down everything you need to know about Heikin-Ashis, what they are, why they're used, how they're calculated, and how to trade on them. But you know, the number one thing, if you really don't want to watch that, I use Heikin-Ashi videos because they much better define uptrends and downtrends than traditional Japanese candlesticks. And also, one more caveat of the Heikin-Ashis is that we don't trade doji candles. We kind of just pretend that these are not here. So if you see a red doji candle in an uptrend, we ignore it. If you see a green doji candle in a downtrend, you ignore that. So these are the only two red candles that we had in this entire uptrend. Once again, you can see these are both doji candles, so we would have ignored those anyway. So really, the Heikin-Ashis on the weekly were calling an uptrend at $28, and we only flipped red saying to sell at $211. That is an amazing trade if you traded based on the weekly Heikin-Ashis. If we look at this big downtrend, once again this downtrend fired at $224. Once again, we discount doji candles, and this was a whole sea of red until we got our first green Heikin-Ashi candle down here at 97. So once again, you would have sold at 224 and bought in at 97. Now, I'm not trying to bring my emotions into this. I think trading based on momentum and looking at these Heikin-Ashi candles in the long term, especially using these weekly macro Heikin-Ashi candles, I think it's a great way to trade, because a lot of the time it takes away a lot of the noise. For example, you can see with this uptrend, we've got a perfect sea of green and a perfect sea of red and a perfect sea of green, and you know, we would have only, in a perfect world, all charts would be like this, and as soon as it jumped red, you'd know that it was about to enter a big downtrend and you sold. As soon as it jumps green, you know we're about to enter a big uptrend. And then once we do see that, you know, kind of red weekly Heikin-Ashi candle coming in, you know, that's where I'd be selling. So Heikin-Ashis really take out a lot of the fake outs in the market, and let me show you why. First of all, once again, massive sea of green, massive sea of red, massive sea of green, and like I said, these were perfect trades of the tops and the bottoms respectively. If we jump over to Japanese candlesticks, you can see a sea of green up to 174, and then you saw multiple red weekly candles. And you know, if you were trading these based on the Japanese candlesticks, you might be thinking, oh, the uptrend is over, we're seeing a red weekly candlestick, it's probably time to sell. And then you would have sold, and then it would have continued ripping, and then you would have been like, oh, we're seeing an uptrend now, let's enter. And then we had another dump, and then we started to pump, and then you saw a dump, and then you saw a fake out pump, dump, pump, dump, pump, dump, pump, and now we're seeing a dump again. So I really think looking at this on the macro time frame using Heikin-Ashis is a great way to kind of appreciate that Solana was, you know, only starting the uptrend down here at $85 a couple of weeks ago, and now people are really freaking out because we're at $113. So, you know, crypto really does move fast. You know, people are absolutely freaking out over this move to the downside, and you know, obviously, I mean, I'm not, you know, kind of poking fun at anyone. I understand how it is because I was a retail trader, you know, many years ago when I first got into crypto, and I was, you know, a trader who would trade the same as everyone else in the market. Like, I was a pure-blooded retail trader, and I was the type who'd buy the pumps, and then, you know, after it comes down, starts dumping for a few days, I'd be like, oh my god, it's going to zero, why is it not going up in a straight line? But it's really easy to just kind of look at these red candles and freak out, and then not appreciate that Solana's up 43% in the past, you know, 2-3 weeks. We've put in an amazing triple bottom down here on the daily, and we've had a strong impulse up, and we've only been correcting for 6 days now. People are freaking out. We're in a 6-day correction after going up, you know, 80 or 90% in a couple of weeks. So I really think, you know, a lot of people are overreacting right now. We're up 85% and we're in a 6-day downtrend after putting in this triple bottom and having an explosion. Now, I've highlighted this before. If we come down to the previous bull run, we put in a triple bottom, we had a long signal on the daily, and we fired all the way up. And when we had our first correction, it was only 5 days until we were pushing above and making new all-time highs. Now, I am a proponent of extended market cycles. I don't think these will play out exactly the same way they did the first time anyway, but nonetheless, you can very much see that it's rhyming. We had this triple bottom explosion, triple bottom explosion. I don't think these are going to take the same amount of days to the teeth every single time. That would be a little bit too easy on us, but nonetheless, I really think the uptrend, or the minor downtrend we're seeing, is going to be done in the next day or two. I think by next week, or by next Monday, you know, which is 3 days away from now. Yeah, it's Friday, so like another 3 days. I think this is going to be heading back up. So really, my worst case scenario, if we come down to the lower time frames, because we are seeing a short on the lower time frames, I think your worst case scenario is really a move down to the daily EMA ribbons down here at 107, and potentially even a fake out as low as $100. I'm personally not selling any Solana. Like I said, I'm looking to buy cheap. I bought at 112 yesterday. We were accumulating the shit out of Solana when it was down here at $80. When I was telling you I think we're going to triple bottom, I was basically, you know, backing up the truck, filling my bags with Solana. Obviously, I'm not trying to shill my bags. I'm just trying to be transparent and letting you know that I do hold Solana. So, you know, I could be slightly biased. I just want you to know that. I'm sure a lot of other people provide analysis on coins and they don't let you know if they're in them or not. So it is, you know, hard to tell, you know, what they really want to see. Obviously, I want to see Solana go up, and I'm invested in it, so I just want to be transparent with you on that front. But nonetheless, I'm giving you my analysis from an unbiased perspective. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, and if we draw our macro fib, you can see we're above the 618. Like, the 618 is down here at 112. I was talking about this when we were all the way down here at, you know, $80 and saying 112 is the most important level. We've had a huge explosion up to the 0.5. And all I really see now is a healthy backtest of the 618. So once again, the shorter time frames are calling for a move down to potentially as low as 107. But like I said, I'm really not waiting for 107 to come for me to buy. I have bought at 112. I'll be laddering in my buys to the downside. In my opinion, Solana looks great. Solana against Bitcoin specifically looks so bullish in my opinion. Like, Solana against the USD, sure, like you can argue that we might be a tiny bit bearish even though we're above the daily EMA ribbons. I personally don't think we're bearish on Sol USD, but Sol BTC, Solana priced against Bitcoin, is incredibly bullish right now in my opinion. So I mean, that's really all I see. I think the Sol BTC and Sol USD chart are beautiful. They look like a Picasso painting to me, and yeah, I just really like the setup of this. I think it looks good. I think this triple bottom is going to play out. I think we're in a very minor correction for 5, 6, 7 days, however long it takes, and I'm really not freaking out because the weekly Heikin-Ashis look very great, and they are indicative that we are in a huge uptrend. So unless we see a weekly close with Solana flipping red on the Heikin-Ashis, I can't be bearish, because, you know, if you were, you know, selling when, you know, these Heikin-Ashis on the weekly weren't turning red in the first place, once again we don't use the dojis, then you would have just been shooting yourself in the foot every single time we entered these uptrends and downtrends. So that is all I see. Sorry if this video is a bit too long, I really didn't keep track of time. Nonetheless, best of luck if you're in Solana. Once again, none of this is financial advice, just my opinion on the market, and you've always got to do what's best for you. Cowboy out. Peace.